Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. Couple things right at the beginning. Ignore the mess behind the booktuber. Um, Christmas and then flip my medical bracelet around. Christmas and then fatigue and things like that have just contributed to my general messiness. I am an organized person, honest. It just doesn't show in my living space. This is the only room in the house that's this bad. Possibly because this is the only room in the house that is entirely mine. But regardless, a couple other warnings. There's a pot roast in the oven right now, so if that goes off, I will have to get up. Also, my sister is doing her prayers upstairs. She tends to do it out loud because she is on the autism spectrum and it's really hard for her to focus. So sometimes she can be quite loud. I did warn her that I was recording, but if she comes through, I'm also not going to go and yell at her to shut up. So you might hear a little bit from her. She does know that I'm recording though, and she knows not to come like walking down the stairs talking. Well, she knows right now. Doesn't mean she'll remember it later, but she has acknowledged that. And let's see what else. Oh, it's not actually cold in here. I've got a bad hair day going on. I will show you the hat because it's cool. It's kind of with the Christmassy theme of... I need a shower. Christmassy theme that I have going with this shirt. This is... Look at that one tree. A lovely knitwear designer designed this pattern for people in my Mom and My Knitting podcast. She designed it especially for us, and it's a Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe design. So very book related. These are supposed to be, you got boys and girls, so you can make an argument for that being the Pevensey children, especially if you only look at the trying to organize it so you only have a set of 4 on the screen. There, now you have a set of 4 only on the screen, ish. Then, of course, the lions are Aslan, and this has got to be the Snow Queen, or the Witch. And that is just a lovely pattern. I don't wear it nearly often enough because it doesn't go with everything, but I think it goes with the Christmas outfit because I've got reds and whites and blues in this thing. Now, whereas I try to put my woven in end in the back. There we go. So I am wearing a very booky piece of knitwear. Okay, and let me take a quick drink of my tea. Viking Prince. Don't usually wear nail polish, but my sister got me some because I had asked her if she had any red for Christmas because I used to really enjoy red, and I was trying to dress up an outfit that wasn't nearly as dressy as I wanted it to be. She was sad to say that she didn't have any red, and they went to the grocery store yesterday, and she grabbed me some red nail polish. So, of course, I had to wear it because otherwise she was going to be incredibly disappointed. But we'll see how long it holds up because I do a lot with my hands. But if it holds up okay, I'll try to wear it more often because it'll make her happy. And I do like red. Okay. Oh, let me put this away. Then, final warning is, you will probably know by whatever title I put on this, but this is a bit different than my normal booktubes. But darn it, I'm excited about this, so I'm going to show it. I don't usually talk much about about the religious books that I read. I do read a fair amount of them. You will notice that if you follow me on Goodreads. But I've kept it out a lot, and I probably shouldn't have. I probably should just make separate videos for it like I intended to. But fatigue is a huge issue for me, and it just hasn't happened. But I got so excited about the books I received today. Slow down the speech. I got so excited about the books I received today that I do have to show what I received. I will record another booktube about the books back here, which are non-religious, and that I've been dying to show y'all. But I want to show these books while I'm still incredibly excited about them. I've been more open about, religious things on my knitting podcast, but I've been recording that for 10 plus years. I think we're like 11, maybe 12 years of recording. So they're used to us. And if it comes out, it comes out, because that's who we are. And yeah, first book is, I got this more for the pictures than anything else. This is an old book. It's, let's see if it has I never get library cards. I'll get my mom books by this author, and she'll get a library card, and I won't. But I have a couple with library cards. So this is 222. Not sure if it's going to give me, there we go. Okay, so this is a copyright 1983. Oh, this is a later one. And, okay, so it's compiled by Blessed James Alberione. And if you are unfamiliar with the way Catholics do things, there's a process to being called a saint, and Blessed is one of the steps to that process. He just needs a couple more things before he can be fully declared, a saint. Obviously, God has decided already what's going on up there, but, for us to calm that down here. But this is basically a simple catechism, which, I don't need, because I'm very familiar, but I thought the pictures were lovely, and it is compiled by Blessed Alberione, who is the founder of the institutes that both my mom and I are part of. She's a part of one for married people. I'm a part of one for consecrated single women. So, just absolutely beautiful. And I always love anything with lovely art to it. Ooh, I really like this one for Peter's Denial. Look at that. Who is the artist? Oh, I have no idea who that is. M. Len Nain Elinari? Because it looks like I don't see any artists that I know. Because I'm actually fairly familiar with artists, because my dad, and I've mentioned before, my dad is an artist, self-taught in his free time. He's absolutely amazing. Oh, this is beautiful. That's how much? That's got to be a photograph. That's got to be a photograph. I'm not sure if that's a photograph or a painting. Maybe you guys can tell. Look, it's a baptism on the battleground, so I'm not sure where that's supposed to be. But that's a military chaplain. That's absolutely beautiful. And that does look like American Army I believe that's American Army. My dad was Air Force, so I'm not completely sure. I think that's a painting and not a photograph. If that is a painting, that's beautiful. Okay. So yeah, I got this mostly for the pictures. So, and this, of course, is a lovely icon. So there's that. Put this down here. But the main reason I want to show off was I picked up. I'm doing the Bible in a Year challenge that Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf. I think it's called Naomi's Bookshelf. The one that she's doing. Now, because I am Catholic, we have 7 books that other branches of Christianity don't recognize. But that means I have to read a lot more to get it in a year. But I am blessed because this particular Bible is set up so you can read it in a year. It has a Bible in a Year plan attached to it. They call it the Great Adventure Bible. And it's put together by a guy who had, Jeff Cavins, he had fallen away from Catholicism, and then he had, eventually, I think there was a period of time where he might have been an atheist, then he refound Christianity, and then he ended up returning to Catholicism. But if I remember the story correctly, when he was in another branch of Christianity, he fell in love with the Bible, and he took that with him when he returned to Catholicism. And one of the things that he ended up doing was he ended, and I wish I could remember the full story. He doesn't have it in the introduction, which is a shame because it's a good story. He ended up putting together a Bible reading plan, and he also was like, we need to have an explanation of the Bible. We need to have, the narrative made more clear, because it can be very hard to keep track of the storyline the way that it can be set up. From what I remember, he conferred with a bunch of different Bible scholars, both Christian. Hang on, I think it says in the Bible in Your Companion. I'm borrowing my mom. She's gonna get me for my birthday later in the month. So, here it is. This is actually the intro by Jeff Cavins, and he's saying that he listens to podcasts. Oh, actually, this is by Father Mike Schmitz. So that he was actually doing. Father Mike Schmitz does a podcast where he does Bible in a year. Warning about Father Mike, he speaks like a mile a minute, which is why I am doing the reading version, because he's a little exhausting, but he speaks very fast. Let's see. From what I remember, I'm trying to find where he says it. Where it's put together. Okay, hold on. Okay, I can't find it, but I remember reading/hearing somewhere, and it's been a while since I looked at it, but that when this was put together, they were looking to get the fullest idea of the Bible. So they looked at various different scholars, and that's where this came from. They, different Bible scholars have different points of view to offer based off of their research. Yeah, I can't find it. And now I can't remember if it was completely from this. I'm pretty sure it was from this as well. But I know I heard that also from another book I'm reading, which is Jesus, the Way, the Truth, and Life, which goes through his life. And this is talking to a bunch of scholars, both Christian, non-Christian, to get the full historical and most complete view of Jesus. But going back to the Bible, Great Adventure Bible, it comes with its own tabs that are color-coded. So the color coding has to do with the time period. So you can read it in the order that things happened, so that way you can get a better idea of, I'm trying to find the code for it. Oh, you know what? I have a little insert for that. We'll just pull that out instead of me flipping through. So the timeline chart. So you have, it says somewhere, instead of just giving me the timeline, just give me the chart. Okay, let's see. They're not making this easy on me. Oh, the nice thing about this chart, by the way, in case you wanted like an idea of what things are going on in history, it says in the bottom, like, so for example, when things are happening in Genesis, it'll say, like, around this time period of 3000 to 2000 BC, Stonehenge began, or the Great Pyramids began, 2685 BC. So it gives you an idea of its place in history, which is kind of cool for someone who is a history nerd. Okay, this was not helpful for me to tell you what the tabs meant. It is in the Bible itself. I will go and pull that. There it is, not being helpful. Because he has it in the introduction. And I know that This is kind of long-winded. Hold on. It's like a nice color picture and everything. Oh, here we go. So, whoops, fiddlesticks. I dropped something, went to pick it up, and I lost my page that I spent so long trying to find. C'est la vie. How to interpret the Bible, other resources. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So it is, I don't know why my screen does this. There we go. We're turning off even though I'm recording. So it's under, it has, it talks about the books, and it, so like, you will see, I have some of the tabs I already put in. You'll see that these are multicolored. And there's a reason for that. Not just because it's pretty, although it is pretty. So Genesis tab, and I'll pull it up in a second, is a mixture of blue, light blue, and like this purpley color, purpley reddy color. So what these tabs mean, you have, this light blue means early world. That purpley reddy color means patriarch. So that covers things like Job. Job has that particular color. I haven't put Job in yet. Yeah, Job has that color. So then you have Exodus, which that's the orange is Egypt and Exodus. So obviously that covers Exodus. Then you have, and it's like a orangey red. Then you have like this, well, it's a desert, sandy color, and it's called, it says Desert Wanderings. That's Numbers. Then you have a lovely green, that's Conquest and Judges, and those tabs include Joshua, Judges. I don't think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that other branches of Christianity include Ruth, which we do include. Now, Ruth, I believe, gets pulled into another book for other branches, but I'm not sure. Then 1 Samuel is partially green, partially purple, because it takes place partially in a time period of conquests and judges, but also heads into the royal kingdom, where you got Samuel 2, so about the time David starts taking over, and that also includes 1 Chronicles and part of the Psalms. Also, I think Proverbs is partially that color too. Where are you, Proverbs? Proverbs is purple as well. So, Psalms is purple, Proverbs is purple, because this is all during the Davidic kingdom. Song of Solomon's purple. I don't think that's included in most non-Catholic Bibles. I think, and I'm very sad if this is the case, I don't think non-Catholic Bibles have Tobit. If you don't have Tobit, even if, I don't know, this might not be nice. If you can find a Catholic Bible, even if you don't want to have anything to do with Catholicism, even if you just want to read a great story, Tobit is a great story. I've heard it described, perhaps by a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but almost as like a buddy travel thing if you want to be a little bit irreverent about it. But Tobias is the father? Yes, I think Tobias is the father. I'm probably messing up which is which. It might be Tobit who's the father and Tobias is the son. No, I think Tobias is the father. Anyway, whichever one is the father, he was sleeping. He's a very holy man, very good man, but he was sleeping outside for some reason. I guess it was maybe too hot inside, and bird droppings got in his eyes, and he went blind. And some other things happened where he needed to pay off, I think, a debt to a more distant family member. I'm not sure if it was a cousin or what it was. So he sent his son to do that, and along the way, his son ends up meeting another man who's like, I'll travel with you. Let's, go together. It's an angel in disguise. It is, I Raphael, one of the archangels. So you got Gabriel, Raphael, and Michael, the archangels. But Raphael's the one in this one. And they're traveling together, but at one point, I think they're going to catch fish for food. And they catch fish. There was something, I wish I could remember everything, but the fish ended up being very important, partially to help later on with the father's eyes. And you go along the way, they end up helping a young lady who, every time she gets married, the demons kill the guy she gets married. I think she's been possessed by demons, but it's not like they're making her do anything. They just come out and they kill the guys she married. And she's had like 7 husbands, and people are starting to make fun of her and say bad things about her, bad things about her husband, about her father, and she's considering suicide. But then Tobias, whichever name is the son, he and Raphael come along, and she is saved from this curse of the demons. She's able to marry the young guy traveling with Raphael. Then they're able to go back and help the father with his eyes, and everything ends happy. But it's a real, even if, like I said, this isn't in your Bible, even if, you want to just look at it as a story, it's a really good read. And because of this, Raphael, for Catholics, is considered the patron of people who, it's for couples or for people wanting to find husband, wife, and I think for healing. That's the other one he's for, and for travelers. So it's one of the happier stories that you will find in here. But Tobit is Tobit, however, is light blue, so he's in the exile books, and that's a 70-year exile. So things in Tobit that includes, or things in the exile period that partially includes 2 Kings, that partially includes 2 Chronicles. 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles also includes the Black, which is the divided kingdom. I think 1 Kings is mostly, that's also black and purple. So then Judges is green, of course. And then you have this yellow color, which is the return. So you got Ezra under that. You got Nehemiah. Then Maccabees has its own color, which includes 1 Maccabees, 2 Maccabees. You got Sirach and Wisdom under there. Then you have later on other colors for the New Testament. I can't find my New Testament. Where are you? That would be unfortunate if I lost that, because I had to put those tabs in too. They might be in my mom's room. There they are. So the Gospels have this gold color. And it looks like all of the epistles are white, it looks like. And then you have like tables of contents and such, they're gray. But yeah, I like the color coding. It's kind of cool to know where things are situated, and the reading plan has you follow it not according to the order it's put in the Bible, but according to when it would have occurred in history, so you can follow the storyline a little bit easier. This introduction is amazing. This is partially what made me so excited. It's set up in a way that I'd never seen another Bible set. The introduction into the Old Testament alone. So you've got this lovely introduction into the Old Testament, where it talks about, basically, okay, what's covered here in Genesis. How this Genesis is significant. Then it talks about covenants in salvation history, because there's a lot of covenants that go on. Covenant between Abraham and God. I need to close the door. Sorry about that. Covenant between Abraham and God. There's the covenant, after leaving Egypt. And then, of course, there's a new covenant that's Jesus brought about with his sacrifice on the cross. So they talk about the covenant structure, which is a very important structure throughout the Bible. Oh, yeah, Noah, of course, where he says, I will never again destroy mankind with a flood. So that's another covenant. You got the one with Abraham, you got the one with Moses, there's one with David, and then with Jesus. Whoops. Sorry, I came out of my Bible cover. I have a cool Bible cover too. I was part of the more religious version of a sorority when I was in college, and we called ourselves the Warriors of the Word. So, isn't it like the shield of truth in not Acts? I can't remember which Pauline epistle it's in. Oh, it's like right on top of my tongue. Because I think it's a shield of truth, which is why you have this. You know, like when you put a shield on, that's not going to fit around my arm, but it might. But that's the shield of truth. So I think it's a breastplate. Oh, that's going to bother me. I'll find it later. It's been a while since I've read that particular section. But anyway, where was I? Oh, I was showing you the introduction. I got distracted. Sorry, my family closed the door on me. Okay. So they have this really lovely introduction just to the Old Testament. They talk about covenants. You understand completely what they're talking about, like the importance of covenants for the Jewish people and then for the building of Christianity. So now that you have like a 15-page introduction to, Old Testament, now you can read Genesis. And then they reference back to the Psalms. Then you'll have your typical footnotes, or at least typical for Catholic Bibles. Do other Bibles have footnotes? I'm assuming they do. Then they will have okay, here's key event, the fall, key event, curse and promise. And the curse they're talking about, now you will have to work, you'll actually have to have pain. You'll have to actually work to get good things. During having a child, you will have labor pains. But there will be enmity between you and the serpent. He will strike at your heel and you will crush his head. I'm paraphrasing badly. But they have these key events, and then they say, okay, well, here's the key event here that we were talking about. Here's the other key event here that we were talking about. Then it's your typical Bible. It will have other key events like the flood. It'll mark that. Then they stop at Genesis 9 because they're like, okay, here's a big covenant. We need to talk about the covenant. So they talk about what the covenant is, what the promise is, what this means. And then they go into that. Or they went into it and then they stop and talk about the covenant a little bit. So this allows you to study it in a little bit more depth. Then, they're talking another key event with Babel. Now that we've gone through all of Genesis, they go into the patriarchs and you have another lovely introduction page. And all of them are like this. And they, run through okay, a little bit of the timeline, what's happening here, what's going on in order. I haven't fully looked at this, but it's absolutely beautiful. And they go into how the patriarchs are important, what they play in God's plan of salvation. And then you go right into things with key events and going through. And that's still part of Genesis, the patriarchs. We just gone into a different section of Genesis, where before we were talking, about the, beginning, the creation story. Now we're headed into the patriarchs. Then it goes and has another page where it talks about the covenant with Abraham. And every once in a while, they'll stop. They'll give you key events, but they'll also go more into things and explain either the place in history or how this is important. Then they stop and it's now we're heading to a new book. Beautiful cover page for Exodus. And now they're going to have another, introduction to Exodus that's going to last, not as long as I thought it would. That's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only 7 pages introduction. That's nothing. So, the Exodus is much the same setup as Genesis is. And this is something you see throughout. I could stop and show you every single introduction picture because they're beautiful, but I'm not going to do that. What I do like, though, just stopping a second, they have an area to tell you this is where you can put your tab, and this is the color that it is, so you know what you're looking for, which is nice. Then I don't have to go and, try to figure out how to make it look nice. And you can see I've already started placing tabs. Now, because I got the paperback version, because, to be quite honest, it's rather expensive to get the nice leatherette type version that my mom has, which has 3 ribbons to help you keep track of where you're at in the Bible plan. I went and got the cheaper paperback version, which is why I need a Bible cover. It's okay, I can put, bookmarks in here, like holy cards and stuff. So I didn't get the fancy version, but I still am very happy with this. I actually barely got this version. I bought it by accident because I was looking at coupon prices, and where you can go and sign in through PayPal, and then it'll take you back and verify, okay, you got your coupon code, here's your shipping, and then you continue, but hit yes, pay. Well, I went through PayPal and it skipped that last step. It bought it for me. And I was like, well, I guess I'm getting this adventure Bible. But it turned out to be a good thing because when I went back later, they were sold out. So I was able to get my book on sale right before it sold out. I do want to pull over to the New Testament so I can show that. But this is, I love things put into historical context. I like the fact that it goes into detail because, there's a lot going on in the Bible, and sometimes I feel like we only scratch on the surface. Yes, there's the things that are what God is saying to me individually through the Bible, but there's also the historical context, which I like to know as well, because if I understand the history, if I understand the culture, I understand better where different key figures in the Bible, where they're coming from. Even, in some ways where what Jesus is talking about, what the gospel writers are referring to, because their culture is going to seep through in their writing, and in the way that they behave, in the way Jesus interacts with others, in the way the apostles interact with others. So knowing that broader historical context can be helpful, and also knowing the cultural context, which is why this book is so good. I know I wasn't going to talk about this, but that's why this book is so good. Honestly, this one I know they went through multiple kinds of Bible scholars. They talked to, I think, Muslims. They talked to, besides, Christians talked to Muslims. They talked to different people who lived in that region or who were familiar with various aspects of what they wanted to cover. Bible scholars, secular scholars looking into the Bible to, compare it in its historical context, because apparently even people who are not Christians will look at the Bible because it is an important historical document from that period of time to give them other context clues. But this book is also put out by the same people who put out the Adventure Bible, so it also has a nice little key to show you when things are happening in history and all. So it's not surprising that it's has so much information because it's the same people who put this together. But what's cool about this particular book, I know I'm getting distracted, it talks about, okay, this is what it meant to be a faithful Jew, this kind of faithful Jew. These are the different kinds of Jews, because there was different branches. You had the Sadducees, you had the Pharisees, you had the ones who lived in the desert. So it has all these details that you wouldn't necessarily know, and it gives a whole different aspect to reading the Bible that you didn't have before, because now you know some of the historical context. It talks about the fact that there was more of a communal, like Nazareth, when you were living there. It was like you had like several family. I forget how many families they said, but it wasn't a lot of families. But that made up the town. You're basically related to everyone in the town because it was a small town, and you lived not just like a little family together like we're used to now, but you lived more communally. You might live with grandma and grandpa. You might live with aunts and uncles, and then your cousins. And even if you didn't live together, they might live right next door. So Mary, Joseph, and Jesus weren't just like one little unit by themselves. They had a whole family unit, and they explain how that leads to the fact that when they lost Jesus in the temple, it actually makes sense. It wasn't just them being negligent. It was very easy for them to go, oh, he's probably traveling with his father, who was at a different point of the caravan. Or, oh, he's with his cousins, or he's with his aunt, or he's with his uncle, because it was a huge family caravan going to observe this feast. So it was very easy to lose where Jesus was. And then when they stopped at their first rest stop and started counting heads, they realized that Jesus was missing, and then they headed back. But they make it make more sense. It wasn't just like, oh, we lost Jesus, where'd he go? It was like, oh, that makes sense. They had a huge family gathering. They thought he was with someone. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. I'm not finished with it. I'm actually re-listening to it. I'm reading it and listening to ebook on the same time because I like the guy's reading voice. But I got it free through Audible because I had two credits available, so I used one of my credits for that. So I'm starting it over again. I feel like it doesn't hurt me to re-examine this, especially while I'm reading the Great Adventure Bible. It can add more depth to my reading. But, to return to what I'm actually talking about, I just wanted to bring us into the New Testament, wanted to see what pretty picture is here. Let's see, Malachi, I'm still in the Old Testament. New Testament, Messianic fulfillment. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Carl Bloch is the author for that. I mean, not the author, the painter for this. I don't know which time period he is. It definitely is an older time period. Maybe Renaissance? It doesn't quite look like Renaissance. I'm not sure. Because it's a little more realistic than Renaissance. Well, some of the Renaissance. I don't know. I'll have to take a look at Carl Bloch. I'm not quite sure when he is. But yeah, it gives you, again, the timeline. And, gives you an idea, okay, who was the emperor? You have Tiberius, who was from 14 AD to 37 AD. So now you know who the emperor is during the time period. Which, if you know your history, is very important because Tiberius was a very interesting character. He was the one who, he married Augustus Caesar's daughter. So Augustus Caesar was originally Octavian. He was originally triumvirate. I can't say that. Anyway, which included Mark Antony. Mark Antony was taken down due to his dalliance, affair, relationship, whatever you want to say, with Cleopatra. And also, he didn't help his case because he was married to Octavian's sister, Octavia, and he was cheating on her with Cleopatra. Yeah, Octavian was already looking for an excuse to take down Mark Antony. He only gave him more excuses. So, Octavian takes over, starts calling himself Augustus Caesar. And I forget, Caesar meant, I think it meant citizen. He was trying to say, look, I'm just first citizen, I think is what it translates to, Augustus Caesar. I think it's first citizen. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've looked at my ancient Roman history. But, so he, set himself up as emperor, but he was very careful about how he worded it because Romans had a bad taste in their mouth about kings. They didn't want a king. If there was even a whiff of kingship going on, they would be likely to stone you and overthrow you, as Julius Caesar found out to his detriment. But Tiberius was the son-in-law / adopted son of Octavian / Augustus Caesar. That was very normal in ancient Rome. Ancient Rome, if you wanted someone to succeed you, it wasn't necessarily your blood son. You would choose a guy, and he might even be your age or whatever. You chose a guy to succeed you, and then you adopted him and said, okay, this is my heir. And that is what happened eventually with Tiberius. He was not Octavian's first choice. Octavian had several people that he wanted instead, but they were younger than Tiberius, but they all died. Tiberius's mom was a very interesting woman in history. I have at least one book on the women in ancient Rome, and I'm sure she's in here. I can't remember her name. She was a very strong character, which shines through in events. But there's thoughts that she might have been involved in engineering things. So Tiberius could move forward and take be the next Caesar, because she was a second wife, the daughter of Octavius. Because I think she was actually Octavia Minor, his daughter, because ancient Romans were not creative with their names, so you could have like multiple Octavias in the family, multiple Octavians in the family. But if you had Octavia Major would be like the mother, and Octavia Minor would be the daughter, and you see this a lot in Roman history. But Tiberius had taken over this point. I can't remember if this is at the point that he goes off into his own private island and he refuses to leave. He was a very interesting character. If you've ever read the historical fiction The Robe, which is about a centurion at Jesus' crucifixion, and how the winning of Jesus' robe changed his life, but there is a point where you meet Tiberius, and I think they do a pretty good job of showing how interesting Tiberius is. I think that Caligula, I can't remember who was after him. It's one of the ones who were like crazy, took after him. I can't remember which emperor that was. Maybe it wasn't Caligula. It was one of those like that. Anyway, so that's a long way to say it gives you an idea of who was emperor during that period, which is Tiberius. And there are documents, I think you can see them through Josephus, and I want to say, I'm trying to remember, not Pliny, he's Greek. I can't pull out the name of the Roman historian. He was a historian, but he also wrote current events, and I can't remember his name right now, but he's a really good source. He is a well-respected source from the era, and he confirms that that there was a Roman prefect in the Jewish world at the time in Jerusalem named Pontius Pilate. So there are external sources that confirm what we already know from the Bible, which is cool. I forgot to mention, I've never had a Bible that does this. It's a red letter Bible, which makes Jesus' words red, and I've never had that. I'm so excited. Wow, I forget sometimes how long a section that people have when he tells parables. But yeah, I'm very excited. You have, I bet let's see if they have for, the church. Yeah, Claudius, he takes over, that's right. No, someone's before Claudius, because Claudius was not intended to be emperor. You had the person who was between Claudius and Tiberius. It was either Caligula or the other one, I can't remember, because Nero was after him. Claudius was the lame, like literally lame. He had physical issues, and I think he also had seizures. but he had a lot going on. And if you were physically deficient, a lot of times they assumed that you were mentally deficient in ancient Rome. And he usually got treated pretty badly, and he was never really taken seriously. But he became emperor almost by accident. The Praetorian Guard overthrew Caligula, or whoever it was who was between Tiberius and Claudius. So they overthrew that emperor, and they killed, basically anyone they could find who had that royal bloodline. They killed the kids, they killed the wife. They were just on a killing spree. The Praetorian Guard found him, like, huddled in a corner, like, shaking in fear. And, like, that's our emperor! Because they thought they could control him. So, that's how that's how Claudius became emperor. And he is the emperor at the beginning of the, where you're looking at Acts, where you're looking at the epistles. You go from him, and then you go to Nero, which that's where you see a lot of the persecutions occurring. I'm not sure if Peter and Paul died during Nero or during Vespasian, because Vespasian was after Nero. And I think Vespasian was the beginning of the good emperors. They had a period of time, it's like 6 good emperors, 4 good emperors, I can't remember. They had a line of, like, good emperors where there's, like, surprisingly had good, like, just a bunch of them at the same time. Or in a row. So I think Vespasian did not hit that period of time. Vespasian was there for the destruction of the Jerusalem temple, which brought to an end the Pharisaical Jewish sect, because they were connected to the temple in Jerusalem. And then the Sadducees became the main sect. Although I think that there are more traditional, like some traditional Jews coming out who are maybe trying to pull out some of the Pharisaical beliefs, where they accept more of what we call the Old Testament than the Sadducees do. From what I understand, the Sadducees accept only the things that are written in Aramaic, while the Pharisees, and then maybe this other branch of current day Judaism, accept more of the books, even the ones that are written, I think it's in Greek. I can't remember. I had to research on it. I can't remember much more about that. I had found a site called Jews for Christ, I believe, where they go through and they explain. And then they talk about, who they are. And it was a very interesting site. Jews for Christ, like I said, I believe is the name. Oh man, I'm on such tangents. Is there anything else to show you in here? No. Okay, so this is a very long and rambling video. Like I said, it's too late to tell you if you've gotten to this point. But if I do more videos of this type where I talk about religious books, I will attempt to keep it separate from my non-religious booktube videos, because I know that not everyone wants to hear about religious books. I also know that not everyone wants to hear about Catholic religious books. So that is perfectly fine if that's not what you want to watch. I will provide both options, but I do want to share this other part of my reading. That is a big part of my reading. I'm very excited about this new Bible, and I just didn't feel like keeping it to myself. I was going through, I'm like, this is cool. This is so cool. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to share this. I'm like, I'm going to share it. So thank you very much if you have lasted this long. I hope that you have a very blessed day. I think my family is eating without me because I turned on my light for my booktube. I am going to go and grab the food. So you have a blessed day. Bye.